I don't feel like I'm going out on a limb and saying this, that most of my fans should know who BenTheLooney is. He's someone who draws animated porn, tries to justify it, which I don't really have much of a problem with. You know, someone wants to draw animated porn, whatever, fine. He recently did a video defending it with what's wrong with porn artists, and the general point, you know, what's wrong with me wanting to draw these people? Fine, I mean, you're a bit of a fucking freak, but I mean, it's not as bad as lolly porn, but now Ben wants to defend that, so here I am to basically explain why Ben's full of shit and a complete fucking idiot. So just heavy parentheses that I'm not here to debunk what he has to say about drawing overage people. I'm more or less tackling what he has to say about lolly porn, so anything else in the video I'm skipping over.
A lot of people who are offended by porn artists are offended because they take kid characters and sexualize them. This is known as Lolicon. A lot of artists are known for doing it, and they've gotten their fair share of flack for it. Well, I might lose a lot of subs and friends for what I'm about to say, but I ain't in this for the popularity. I'm in this because I say what I want to say. I don't see a problem with Lolicon. Now, I'm going to make one thing perfectly clear. I am not attracted to children in any way. I've never had any sexual desires to be with a child. I'm a grown man who's attracted to people who are at least 18.
Now this point itself is rather questionable, since in the video he doesn't make a distinction on whether or not he's someone who enjoys lolly porn himself. Which, I mean, I would say you probably are, since you listed in your hottest animated characters, you listed off a bunch of children. If you find animated children attractive, then there you go, you're into lolly porn. Great.
I used to be completely against the sexualizing of kid characters. I thought it was wrong, and was just an excuse for pedos to live out their sick fantasies without fear of getting arrested for it.
So did you ever get this thought about yourself, Ben? I mean, in your video, the hottest animated characters, you listed Misty. Misty from Pokemon is about 10 years old, Ben, and your interest in her seems to have not went away. You draw pictures of her and you put them on your DeviantArt, which to me would express an interest in you wanting to fuck her, especially when you have went on record and said that you find her attractive. So I don't know, if you found a 10-year-old animated character attractive and then you go on to say that you thought it was just pedophiles living out their sick fantasies, then what really makes a distinction between you? How comes you never had these thoughts about yourself if you're interested in characters that are underage? By your own fucking admission.
Well, I've talked to a lot of my close friends and fellow artists about it, and I feel I do my standards a disservice if I continue to share that viewpoint. I'm against censorship in every form of the action, and my philosophy is, if it's not illegal, it's not a problem.
Now, using legality as an argument to defend it is quite shitty when, first of all, it is illegal. There's plenty of things that do state that if you draw animated children in sexual manners, then yes, that is a crime. But let's say it was legal. Let's explore things that are legal and aren't illegal, that are quite questionable. Well, for one, marijuana. If you smoke marijuana in certain cases, that's illegal. So that's kind of a shitty argument right off the bat. Abortion and gay marriage used to be illegal. Did you have a problem with gay marriage and abortion? In India, you can marry an 8-year-old girl and have sex with her. Does that mean it's okay to have sex with those girls in India? So does that make pedophilia okay so long as you're in the right country, and if you're not in the right country, then it's automatically wrong? Do we define what's good and bad based on the law, or do we base them on morality? Because the laws condone quite fucked up things like slavery and, this tiny thing called the Holocaust. So you might want to think of adopting a better argument.
I'm American, and I find the stigma against lollies hypocritical coming from a country that freely allows toddler beauty pageants, crap that actually sexualizes actual toddlers. Are you stroking me right now? I find that more disgusting than somebody drawing the girls from Lucky Star having a foursome.
Well, I'm against that too. And given the fact that South Park has poked fun at that 1 or 2 times in their show, it would stand to reason that the opinion of sexualizing children in pageants is kind of the same as lolly porn, that there's a bunch of people who think that it's wrong, and then there's a bunch of freaks like you that like to defend it.
Sure, drawing kid characters in sexual ways may be morally wrong, but then again, could you say the same thing about other forms of art? Is it morally wrong to design video games that reward murder, rape, and all kinds of other illegal activities? Is it morally wrong to play music that encourages murder, rape, and all kinds of other illegal activities? Is it morally wrong to film movies that showcase murder, rape, and all kinds of other illegal activities? How come all this stuff gets a free pass, but once tits are involved in artwork, then it's an issue?
If you have to be sat down and explain the difference between depicting someone getting shot in a movie and someone drawing Rule 34 of Maggie Simpson getting fucked in the ass by Tommy Pickles, then you're a lost cause. The difference is that there's a clear sexual arousal to that. If they weren't sexually aroused to the idea of kids being in sexual situations, they wouldn't be beaten off to lolly porn. Clearly there's something about kids being in sexual situations that excites them, and they find it interesting sexually. They're getting off to it sexually. That's why people have an issue with it. That's why people think it's fucked up. The fact that there's people out there that are actually masturbating to this type of stuff. And plus, if we want to really explore this, there's a bit of a difference between someone getting violent thoughts or maybe passively saying, I want to murder someone, as opposed to turning and saying, man, I really want to fuck that kid right now. Can you sort of see that there's a bit of a difference there and that you're comparing apples to oranges right now?
And then you have the issue of aging up kid characters into adults for the purpose of sexualizing them. Artists get accused of being pedos for that. I don't understand the logic there. Does that mean you're a pedo if you're attracted to an adult and that adult used to be a kid? Makes no sense to me.
Well, I could sort of see your argument given the fact that they're upping the age and that it's no longer depicting a child in a sexual manner. But let's say for the sake of argument, you take a character who's originally intended to be a baby or a child and then you up the age to 18. Sure, it's not a kid anymore, at least not in the drawing, but your mind still thinks it is. You're still gonna have that connotation. Yeah, I'm beating off to that kid character from the show. You bump up the age to Stewie Griffin and you jerk off to them. You're still thinking to yourself, yeah, I'm jerking off to Stewie Griffin right now, the baby character from Family Guy. So while I could sort of see the argument that they're no longer getting off to something which looks like a kid, they still associate it with being a kid because unlike people in real life, stuff like that can't really age. In most cartoons, the kids' characters don't grow up, they stay the same age. So you generally have an association with them being kids. Hence why it's a bit fucked up for people to see them being sexualized even if they're bumped up to a different age. So while I could sort of see the argument when you're bumping up the age, and I find Lolicon more disgusting than bumping up the age, regardless, I can still see the opposing view.
But here's how I look at it. It's just another form of fan art. Artists like to take characters and draw how they think they look as an adult. This drawing might involve sexual situations, but, like I said, it's not illegal. If it was, over half the artists on DeviantArt and Tumblr would be in overcrowded jails next to victims of other harmless crimes, like smoking weed or downloading music.
So if you agree there's such a thing as a harmless crime like smoking weed and downloading music, then why do you make the argument that if it's not illegal, then it's not a problem? You would seem to agree that there isn't really an argument to be made there. How do you say in the exact same video something that contradicts one another? If it's not illegal, it's not a problem, and then you acknowledge that there are stuff that is illegal that is kind of fucked up to be illegal. So as said, when I said before, are you against gay marriage? Are you against abortion? I'm obviously speaking in hyperbole. I don't genuinely fucking believe that Ben hates this shit. But by the same accord, the fact that he's been so inconsistent, you can make these arguments. Does he actually think that? If you really think this type of stuff, and you have that one opinion, then can't you see that it would also mean you'd have to have the other opinions if you were to hold yourself in a consistent manner? How about you ditch the whole notion that if it's not illegal, it's not a problem? Because right now, it's not doing you any favors, and using it to defend Lolicon is fucked up. The rest of this video is essentially a subtle diss to Soul Brother.
You should probably get on the radio, you fucking pussy.
So I'm not gonna go over that since other people are bound to poke fun at it. But yeah, basically, BenTheLooney defends Lolicon. He thinks that if it's not illegal, it's not a problem in his own words. Ben finds Misty from Pokemon to be sexually attractive. Yeah, he's quite a charming fellow, isn't he? And as I said in the beginning about it being illegal, let's say I was completely wrong. Let's say Ben was able to actually provide that it wasn't illegal and that it was completely okay. As said at the beginning of the video, in India it's okay to marry 8-year-olds. So I'm not here basing shit off the law all the time. Sometimes you need to make the arguments on something else. And I know that your fan base seems to poke fun at the fact that, oh, they're just arguing off their feelings, as if that's an invalid way to argue. Of course there's there's plenty of cases where you use your feelings to take into account of stuff. If someone's raped, you factor in how they were emotionally affected by the situation, the trauma they had to go through. If someone is murdered, you take into account how the person had to go through before they died and how the family had to react to it. So saying that feelings is an invalid thing to go on when you're talking about shit like this, it's fucking ridiculous. Of course you factor in feelings about shit like this. And just because it's a drawing, just because there's no actual children being harmed, doesn't mean that it doesn't promote the notion of jerking off to something that is essentially a simulation of child porn. And if you're making a simulation of children having sex, then I'm sorry to say, and I know this might sound like a weird opinion on the internet, I think that's kind of fucked up. And I think other people should think that as well. And people like you that are trying to influence otherwise, in my opinion, is kind of fucking disgusting.